If you're a regular viewer of the Tyre Reviews channel, this video probably isn't for you because I'm not talking about tyres. But if you're in the market for a Honda Civic Si, especially if you're kind of tossing up between an Si and a Golf GTI, I think you might find this video a little bit interesting. This isn't like a proper official review. I've got no script, I've got no notes. I've had this 2023 Honda Civic Si on loan from Honda for I think nearly 3 months now. They haven't given it to me to do a review of the car. That wasn't why they lent it to me. They actually lent it to me to do some tyre testing, which was very, very kind of them. And I thought I would just give you my thoughts based on all of my experience with it, which is probably a lot more than the average reviewer because I've had it for so long. I've used it on track and road and canyon drives and commuting, and also got a lot of experience doing track and stuff work with the Golf GTI. So I know the two platforms very well. So I've had this car about 2.5, 3 months now. And at first I was a little bit like, okay, it's a tool. I wasn't totally in love with it or anything like that. But having spent a bit more time with it and driven it the way I've driven it, you really, really start to appreciate just what an impressive piece of engineering this is. The summary is it's incredibly good value. Sub $30,000 for a car that has Android Auto, it has adaptive cruise control, it has automatic brake systems, it has an actual proper mechanical front differential, which is just incredible. The negatives of it, I'm just going to get the negatives out of the way first. The 1.5 litre engine is an engineering masterpiece, but on track, I mean, it's 200 horsepower, so it's no slouch, but on track, you definitely feel like you need a bit more power, especially with that incredible front diff. You feel like between even a normal road tyre and the diff, you just can't, you haven't got enough power to really enjoy the what the chassis can offer. The chassis is set up a little bit for understeer, but that's common amongst all cars. And the brakes do get a little bit too hot on track, but again, that's track. For the road, this car is exactly what I want from a car now. It reminds me of back when I started driving in, oh God, early 2000s. In the UK, we call them hot hatches, but it's basically a small, fun car with not too much power. Now, 200 horsepower, some people would say it is too much power, but it feels like the right amount of power because it feels quick. Small displacement engine, but small turbocharger. It gets on boost very early. And what you can do on the road is absolutely carve up the canyons, thrashing the living daylights out of it, and you're not doing silly speeds. You can come out of like really tight hairpin corners in a 60-mile-an-hour limit, go through first, go through second, just snick into third, and you're still under the speed limit, but you've had fun revving the engine out. Even though it is a small displacement turbocharged engine, the characteristics of the engine, it still feels a little bit VTEC. It still seems to come on cam at about 5,500, and that last extra bit is just a bit manic. I've owned actually a lot of Civic Type R's. I've owned an EP3, an FN2 I think it was, and then I've done comparison tests in the UK for magazine articles between all the different Civic Type R's, and it does feel like a small Civic Type R. The gearbox, like manual only, freaking love Honda for that. Manual only, the gearbox isn't quite as rifle precision as I remember my Civic Type R's or even my S2000, but it's one of the best manual gearboxes I've ever used. It's better than the 911 gearbox, I know that for sure, because the 911 gearbox is just, yeah. And so same with the BMW M manual gearboxes. They're just not the best gearboxes, but this is nice and tight. It's a really positive throw. It's very, very clear. So as a chassis, it's just, for the road, it's really, really wonderful. Other benefits of this, sorry I'm jumping around, but like I said, I didn't have any notes for this. Other benefits of this, it feels like it's been designed by an engineer who loves driving, and it's loaded. So like I say, it's got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay for the price, sub $30,000. Adaptive cruise control. Now, it's little things that I really appreciate. The adaptive cruise control, I don't know if you know adaptive cruise control, but you can set 4 stages of how much you want it to tailgate. Obviously, you never let it get super close, but the adaptive cruise control remembers that. The adaptive cruise control remembers when you've turned it on and what setting you've turned it on. So you don't have to do that every time, which is a really nice touch. The infotainment system is miles better than the Golf. The Golf is clunky and slow and really frustrating to use, but this is quick and crisp, and you plug your phone in and Android Auto up straight away. And even if you don't want to use Android Auto, the rest of the screen and everything is responsive, unlike the Golf, which I might have moaned about in main channel videos a number of times. What else? For someone of my size, 6'3.5", so I'd round up to 6'4", the seats are really comfortable. I can just about fit in here. With a helmet, I have to recline a little bit more than I would, but I like to sit very close and very upright. And that's even with the sunroof. So there's plenty of room. I've had adults in the back. You can fold down the back seats and get 6 wheels in, or 4 wheels, and enough tools and everything to do a track day, which is amazing. It's a Honda, so reliability is going to be out of this world. And the last thing I want to touch on is economy of the engine. I've said it's a small displacement engine, small displacement turbocharged. It still makes 200 horsepower. I filled up on the way to doing some filming for a video about Bridgestone tyres using this vehicle. I came up a canyon, so a lot of uphill, did a bit of canyon driving, so not like breaking the speed limits or anything, but brisk, and now I'm coming back down, and my average fuel consumption has been 35.6 mpg, which is, for the power and the response you get off the engine, ridiculous. I've had like steady motorway journeys where I've been over 40 mpg, and these, if you're a European, these are American gallons, which are smaller than European gallons. So I think 40 mpg American is over 45 UK. So the actual economy of it is incredible. So not only is it cheap to buy, it's cheap to run. It's probably cheap to service. It's going to be reliable. It's just a really nicely packaged car. The negative to the Golf, I did promise I'd talk about the Golf. The only reason I would buy a Golf GTI over this is power. The Golf has 230 or 240 in the GTI by stock, and then obviously if you go into the R, you can, or the TC or everything, you can get up to 300s. And the 240 to 198 or whatever this is, you do feel it on track, and for what I want from a car, I would be doing a lot of track work. But for the road, I think the slightly less power and the fact this engine revs out so nicely, I think it works really well for it. So I don't think that's a huge negative aspect of the Golf. Very impressive car for the price. I think it's like a recipe that is amazing for the road. I know the Civic Type R will be a better car for me. If I was being offered both of them, of course I would pick the Type R if I wasn't paying. But you just can't thrash around the Type R on the road like you can the SI. And if you don't intend to do a lot of track work, it would be a really hard argument for me to say go and buy the Type R when this is such good value. But I will be testing the new Type R at some point in the future, so, and I'm mega excited about that. Any questions you have, please ask below. Sorry this was a bit undynamic and a bit waffly, but I hope, if you're, like I said at the start, if you're interested in buying one of these and you are evaluating against the Golf GTI, my suggestion is go and sit in both of the cars and try and get an extended test drive. And if you do have the opportunity to test drive one of these, try and get out for more than like 10 minutes and do get some roads where you can really wring its neck, because I think that's where the character of the car really comes through. Thanks for watching if you watched, and as always, safe motoring.